I came across some really bombshell information this morning in regards to ELF and VLF technology. So I suggest you grab a coffee because I'm gonna read some info to you folks. The IRVA, the International Remote Viewing Association website, and they have listed here a person on this website goes by the name of Marcia Adams. This is a public page. It says here, as an integrator of multiple scientific disciplines, Marcia Adams has proposed pioneering, authoring or co-authoring papers that have changed paradigms. While at Stanford Medical School, she was involved in electrophysiological measurements. To that end, she constructed the first civilian station to monitor low-frequency signals for the purpose of earthquake forecasting. She has done extensive analysis correlating solar terrestrial data with health and crime statistics. While employed by SRI International as a senior computer systems analyst in the early 1980s, she participated in the remote viewing project. She functioned as both a researcher and trainee under the tutelage of Ingo Swann. It says Marcia Adams will describe her participation in the SRI remote viewing project in the early 1980s as both researcher and trainee. She will show a brief video explaining the relevant mechanism for the research she did. Naturally occurring electric and magnetic activity of the Earth and its source, solar activity. Research that may link solar terrestrial activity to human physiology and remote viewing quality will be discussed. She will review two papers she presented at the Parapsychological Association meeting in the mid-1980s regarding temporal relationships of Dr. Hal Puthoff's remote viewing data to geomagnetic field activity. Gravity waves? I wonder. Expanding the scope, recent research regarding physiological and health changes induced by both naturally occurring and artificial electric and magnetic fields will be explored. She will discuss measurable characteristics of location, including data collection in the ambient environment inside buildings, at sacred sites, at so-called geopathetic zones. I believe those are the areas that Tesla was referring to, the ability to do energy work being easier at certain locations. Geopathetic zones, I believe is the title she's using. And in control areas. Speculations about environmental effects on physiology and therefore remote viewing performance will be made. Adams will discuss how local fields can be detected and measured directly, as well as how to find links to real-time internet data for naturally occurring solar terrestrial data. Adams will also speculate on some potentially fruitful areas to explore for temporal relationships with RV results, as well as some possible mitigation measures. It's a very interesting person. M. Adams. I found this other page, which will also be linked. It says this. Adams belongs to the Society for Scientific Exploration. She is a biologist and worked in computers and research at SRI International. She has also performed medical research at Stanford Medical School and founded the Time Research Institute in the San Francisco Bay Area to do earthquake forecasting using low-frequency electromagnetic signals. This is a quote. While doing earthquake forecasting research, I found that the human body can be very sensitive to these forces. It acts like an antenna and can be a conduit, Adams said. Our body will react in a variety of ways, like a feeling of being unwell, dizziness, irritability, headaches, but mostly fatigue. You don't say. 6600 sub 5 ELF/RV correlation study. This is good, folks. You are going to dig this. This makes a lot of connections. Planned experiments. 1. General. The objective of this effort is to investigate the possible effects of ambient geophysical/low-frequency electromagnetic ELF factors on RV performance. Major goals. Phase 1. Search and summarize the literature on geophysical ELF effects on biological organisms, especially as they relate to the degradation of human performance skills at a behavioral level. Listen to that one again. This was written a long time ago. Funding was received for this task on 15 November. So a year, if this is written a year and a half after they mentioned 82 earlier, so we got a ballpark time frame. This is where it gets interesting. As if the other stuff wasn't, right? Discussions were held with R. Leonard with regard to individuals within the radio physics laboratory and among SRI consultants who will cooperate in carrying out this task. The first efforts on this task are to begin 6 December with a meeting with the primary consultant. Ready? Drum roll. Marcia Adams. Interesting. Thought she was into earthquakes. Project Director Putoff and subcontractor M. Adams of Time Research Institute. If I remember correctly, M. Adams started that. M. Adams of Time Research Institute worked out the details of an overall plan and a work statement to carry out the ELF task. Representative Atwater, that's a big name, was briefed on 19 January during a site visit to the Menlo Park facility as to the progress on this task. Several task sub-elements have been activated, such as arranging for SRI Burroughs computer programs to be reformatted for the IBM XT to be used on project, ordering of equipment, literature search, initial ELF measurements at the Los Altos subcontractor facility, etc. That is basically a lot for people to consider. I keep pumping that I feel like there's some technology at hand that people may not be familiar with yet. I keep suggesting that these projects have been working on these things for decades. And here we have some solid connections and some evidence that the Stargate program, the stuff that I've released previously about participants being in these programs knowingly and unknowingly, that these programs have been working with children. People have come forth about that, myself included, that the Stargate program, temporal programs, and SRI, and people are still doing these things. So let's learn more about ELF.